Hey again, everyone, and welcome to the Experience Maker Show Live. I'm your host, Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker and coach. So happy to have you here as we have every week a great guest that I'm super excited to introduce you to. First, I just want to do a 10-second bit of self-promotion and tell you that I have a new book coming out in September. It's called The Experience Maker, How to Create Remarkable Experiences Your Customers Can't Wait to Share. It is available for pre-order right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart.com, wherever you get your books. Please check it out. I think you will definitely enjoy it, especially if you love the content of this show. I am super excited to introduce you today to a relatively new friend of mine, although we got close pretty quickly after we met in a group coaching session. Stephanie Cenedella is a personal story architect. Now, if you're not interested already just in hearing that title, then I don't think anybody's going to be interested. But man, that got my attention for sure. And we're going to talk about storytelling and personal branding today with a consultant and coach in the space. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dan. I'm super excited to be here with you, but also to, of course, talk about personal branding and story architecture.
Well, I want you to sort of start from the beginning. First of all, tell us a little bit about you and your background, kind of how you got here. And then let's just jump right into what in the world is a personal story architecture.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit of backstory history, because backstory is what it's all about. In my opinion. So my backstory is certainly in the market consulting agency world. 20 years in that world, working with world-class brands, Keebler, Jockey International, Kraft General Foods, big name brands. That was very exciting. But I did make that shift because I was in a space that it wasn't serving me in the way that I needed it to. And I began to look at my personal backstory and what I needed to work on myself. And that's what really made me start to think, okay, yes, there's history and expertise in this brand world. I know how to build brands to create profit. But at the same time, there is a space in our life that is about engagement. It is about experience. And it is about what fuels us, and it is about purpose. And so that is what, and the work that I did personally, as I, quite frankly, started to grow my family, I really needed to do things that were right and keep me going versus shredding me. And yes, I'm a worker bee. There are so many worker bees out there in this world, but at the same time, we can't do that forever. We have to do things that fuel us. And so therefore we get to a space that, and I got into the space of, okay, it is about architecting your story. It's about building it. What feels right for you? I work with teams, executives, and individuals, and they're definitely in a space of, I want to climb that ladder. I want to grow. And my perspective and strategy is the first thing we need to do is turn that lens to ourselves and really know who we are, craft that story. And it's not just about, when I say craft a story, I want to be clear that it is architecting. It's building upon what is right for you, so that when you have that right, you have it cleaned up, you shift in that professional space, and you can weave in the nuances of the gems of who you are so that you can be seen and heard. There is a real strategy to it. And then, of course, then we get into personal branding. So there is the strategic marketing principles that we want to weave in. We can't do that until we get to, we could do it, okay? We can be paid to do it and just run with it, but it's not as meaningful and purposeful if you're not building it yourself and looking at what is really clear and right for you. So
give me an example, if you can, or walk me through what does an architecture look like? What are the elements of it?
Well, so first things first, there are those three pieces, and that is personal, professional, and then it is how we launch, market it. Okay. But the very first piece is that personal space, building that foundation. So from an architecture standpoint, boy, you better have a strong foundation, because if you begin to build, if you have cracks and you have not a strong invested in foundation, it's going to become a problem. And then you're going to be frustrated, bummed out that you didn't build from a strong, authentic foundation. So it's that foundational work first. And then we build up and we move into, okay, what are the pieces and parts, the nuances that feel appropriate that we can weave in to that professional space. And I have lots of conversations about that, boy, okay, my personal story, this feels really, really good, but is it really appropriate for me to take it into a business standpoint or a corporate space? And so that's where in the professional space, we have to look at how do we build those pillars of what's our mission, what are our values, our purpose. Okay, so those strong pillars, yes, they weave from that personal story, but I always say we need to look at story in a few different ways. Sometimes we're in a really open space, and when we know our story, we can be really engaged, and we know that people are open to it. Now, sometimes we're in the middle of a road space, and we might weave in a few things that are personal. And then sometimes we are in a little bit more of a conservative space. And maybe we're not sharing all those nuggets of our story, but we know what they are. That's what's grounding us. That's what's making us stand tall. And we know what that purpose is. So there are several different ways to look at it. And so again, when we have that firm foundation, then we build those pillars. And once we have those pillars, then from an architectural standpoint, we really start to design. We start to create, we start to innovate. And that's what makes us stand out. That's what makes us seen and heard. And that's what also creates a strong experience. We become risk takers, and people look at us and they're like, whoa, I mean, I want to stand in that circle. I want to be like that, someone who is so clear with what they're doing.
Yeah, I really like that. And sometimes it takes some time to kind of identify these various elements. I might be passionate about something, but it may have nothing to do with work. Or maybe it makes sense for me to weave it in because it makes me distinctive at work. And I think there's some really interesting elements to it. You do have a fan out there that I think we both know really well. So Courtney, thank you for watching, and absolutely about getting clear about our personal story. Now, speaking of Courtney and Brian Kramer, I know that you have, as I have, been working with them and have been building a coaching business. So tell me a little bit about how that works, and when somebody comes to you and says, okay, I want to build my personal story architecture. Tell me about how that works.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll tell you about my latest client, which is a consulting firm. It is a husband and wife team, and they are in the world of change management. And they've been doing pretty well, but they really are, looking to grow and create stronger momentum. And they say, which I love, they said, we really want to be more adult about this, that, this thing is going pretty well, but now we want to look at it. We know there's a real opportunity. And so the first thing that we sit and talk about is, yes, we need to understand who you are and what drives you. Create that story that feels appropriate. They are the brand stewards in terms of their entire consulting firm. But also when they're stepping out into that change management world, they need to be able to differentiate themselves. And that is one way to do it, is through your story. So why would you, if you've got a whole landscape of change management organizations to choose from, why are you going to choose me? And story is a huge part of differentiation. The other piece is that in order to engage with clients, and to grow in a partnership standpoint, not just a one and done piece, creating true partnership and engagement, again, through story. That's what's going to differentiate you. But also, when we're working together day by day, week by week, month by month, we want more than just this simple structure. We want engagement. We want a better experience. That's what's going to make us keep coming back. And so, from that standpoint, that works. I've got another client who is a leadership individual at SAP. And he's in this space. He's been in the space for a very long time. And but we kind of get in that same space over and over, and we're just not as excited as we want to be. And we want to grow our teams in a stronger way. We want our competitive set to see us in a different way. And so that working with him was a matter of, okay, yes, you've been through this system. Yes, you've been selling for a long time, but let's really create a story of engagement. And for him, he is all about historical American sports stories. And that's something that fuels him. And so we really crafted an entire story that helped with stronger engagement, internally and externally.
So let's keep moving on that. So what kind of engagement is a client like that looking for? Is it that he's trying to connect more with prospects that he's trying to sell to? Is it about establishing this like a human relationship with people? Or what's the outcome that he's desiring from creating this personal story?
Well, it's a little bit of both. Again, it's internally and externally. From a team standpoint, it is about engaging with team and helping that team. When he's in a leadership space, he wants to create comfort with these team members so that they're not feeling like, okay, if I'm in a team that, oh boy, I have to stand taller but I'm nervous about it. I'm nervous about using my voice and that sort of thing. And so internally, it is about helping individuals be more creative and more open to risk taking and sharing ideas and that sort of thing. Okay. But from externally, we know that there are a lot of offerings out there. And so when we're engaging, yes, from our professional offerings, that's very important to know from a profit standpoint, but also just in general, there are a lot of choices. And yes, we want it to be profit-based, but we do want it to be experiential. We want to have a good experience. And so story is going to fuel that.
So what's the interplay of a personal brand and a corporate brand? So when I worked at Discover, for example, I had my personal brand. It's Dan Gingiss. It stands for certain things, but part of my personal brand is that I work for Discover and I wear orange, and I'm part of this corporate community. So talk to me about that interplay and how does that work with people? As you mentioned SAP or a consulting company, because our work plays so much into who we are. Do you try to separate that, integrate it? A little bit of both.
Little bit of both. So, first things first, we have to know that we're in the right space. We evolve as individuals, and we have to continue to lean into ourselves and make sure that we're in a space that is serving us and that we feel comfortable serving them. Okay? That plays on both sides of the fence. That from a corporate standpoint, they want you to be in the right space, because if you aren't, you're not creating the growth and momentum that they're looking for. So yes, it is about owning that. When you feel good about it, then you truly own it. Then you can speak to it in a way that is really authentic. Then you can spread the word because it is within your belief system. It's alignment. Now, at the same time, it's still really important for you to own who you are, that helps you stand tall, that helps you climb that ladder if that's what you're interested in, or simply be in a space of fulfillment. Because in general, you're going to be happy. The environment that you're in is going to be happy. And again, there's alignment.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I sort of speak from experience there because, I loved my time in corporate America, and yet you've heard my joke that I now love working for the Dan better than I liked working for the man. And I think that's a lot of my personality that sort of finally got to come out a little bit when I started working for myself and was my own boss. And so it's so interesting how, and then especially in the last year and a half, where our home and work lives have really become completely intertwined in a way that it wasn't before. It is sometimes difficult to separate that a little bit. But I love the idea of finding your passion. Again, our mutual friend here, thank you, BK. You're way too kind. He's passionate about both of us. And Stephanie, I'm thankful to Brian as well, because you and I wouldn't have met but for our work with Brian.
Right.
So tell me about what are you doing? What's coming next? What are you excited about as we hit about the mid-year point of 2021? Things are starting to open up again. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I have to say that I am in a space of fueling a lot of individuals to step back out and to reset themselves. And I'm finding a lot of individuals that, they've been in this lockdown space. And there has been a lot of thought of, okay, where do I go from here? And it is that pause and reset. And the process that I offer, it is a pretty fast track process. And working with individuals to, again, turn that lens to themselves and clean it up and take what really serves and blossom what really serves. And so there are a lot of individuals that are feeling that need. And definitely, this experience for some individuals has really offered a lot of growth. And I almost feel like there's not a lot of it in the middle. It either did really well for people or really did not serve people. And so I think that there is a lot of opportunity to help individuals to create that shift and create that strong voice. I think being in that space has been really tough. It takes away the confidence and the bravery and the liberation. And so for me, the space and life that I'm in, I've been in that agency space. And now I'm in a space of really, growing this program. And I call it a program, but also I really look at individuals one-on-one and I look at what their needs are. And I'm just thrilled to be able to fuel better confidence, better voice, which all of those things creates trust and just momentum in general. So just a lot of that happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such an interesting time. I have two kids who spent obviously most of the pandemic at home. My son, who's a 15-year-old, it almost killed him, right? He's a socialite and an extrovert and, just hated being home. My 13-year-old daughter, who's an introvert, she could keep doing this forever if she needed to, because she kind of loves just having her own space and being home and having things be quiet and what have you. And so, it just reminds me that it takes all kinds, it takes all types. And when you go back into the office and you've got sort of this melting pot of people with different experiences and different passions, and also just sort of different ways of being. You've got talkers like me that are happy to get up in front of the room and chat your ear off. And then you got wallflowers who you got to kind of pull stuff out of. And I think that it's interesting what you're doing, because it seems like the more that we know about ourselves, the better we can communicate that to others. And therefore, other people in our work environment, for example, may know us better and may, understand how to engage with us a little better. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, some of the work that I did on employee recognition and how, there's certain people that, want to be brought up on stage and given an award and be put in front of the whole company and celebrated. And then there's certain people who are like, that's the worst thing you could do to me.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have a pat on the back or a little thank you note or something like that quietly. So I think that's really kind of interesting. Do you think that there's a space then for figuring out within a company atmosphere, hey, you've got all these personal stories around you, and here's how we can sort of bring them all together to either create efficiency or to create momentum or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, from a team standpoint, I will say, sort of speaking to what you're saying, look, some people want to be on stage with the mic. Some people don't have that comfort zone, but it doesn't mean that they don't have things to serve up. And so being able to know your story and take pride in that, then it takes you away from this competitive space that, that all of a sudden you're feeling smaller because, oh, I can't get on stage. So, I'm never going to be that level. But we need all the members of a team to contribute, because that is what is going to create that growth. And when we know and own exactly, if we were able to sit at a round table and everybody goes around the table and says, okay, what are the top 3 things that you can contribute to? Now, that makes people shake and they're not really sure of that. But if we uncover that and if we polish it up, man, oh man, all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of great energy and there's going to be a lot of great movement in the room.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I've done some of the, I'll call them HR exercises, but the ones where we try to learn about people's communication styles or personalities or whatever. And one of the ones that stuck out to me, I can't even remember the name of it, but what was cool about it was that you got these little foam Lego pieces that were one of 4 different colors. And the idea was essentially that it explained how you liked to communicate and be communicated to. And what was neat about the Lego pieces was that people put them on their desk. So you walked into somebody's office and you're like, oh, this is a guy that wants it, quick and fast and doesn't want the detail. It just wants me to get to the bottom line, versus somebody else who really revels in the detail and the story behind it. So I love trying to figure out how we learn about each other's stories and then apply it into the workforce. I think that's particularly interesting. Stephanie, we're coming up on time. Tell me how people can reach you. I'm going to put your website on the screen once again, but give us other ways to reach you.
Yeah, my website is stephaniecen.com, and that's CEN. You can email me, stephanie@stephaniecen.com. You can reach me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, SK Cenedella. Again, that's with a C. Reach out. I would love to just kick off a story and a conversation that speaks to how that is going to move you into a very different, happier, more profitable space.
Awesome. Definitely reach out to Stephanie. She is the best at what she does and really inspiring stuff. I appreciate you being here today, Stephanie. Always great to talk with you, and best of luck as you continue rocking it.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for being here today as well. I really appreciate it. I wanted to introduce you to next week's guest. We're going to go across the pond and bring in Stephen Van Belleghem. He's an international keynote speaker, author, entrepreneur, and founder of NextWorks. Very excited to have Stephen come to the show next week. Thank you again for being here. I'm Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker and coach. We're here every Thursday at noon Eastern. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues. And if you have somebody that you would like to be on the show, or if you yourself would like to be a guest on the show, please reach out to me at Dan Gingiss, or Twitter at dgingiss, LinkedIn. You probably can find me if you Google my name. So give a holler. Would love to hear your story as well and have you here on the Experience Maker Show. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.